Good morning. We're the other Launchpad team. As you saw, Scott's team focused mostly on the road market in China. Well, Launchpad's products are very versatile and they have many other uses. But first, I'd like to introduce you to our consulting team. This is Chelsea Smith, Gloria Lowe, Catherine Lugo, Alan Dharmasaputra, and Freya Hu. They worked with me this summer to help find viable markets for Launchpad in China. Loose and porous soil is currently a major issue in China. Over 5 billion tons of topsoil are removed every year by erosion. This equates to about 33 million dump trucks of dirt. But erosion's not the only problem. Porous soil also can allow contaminants into the groundwater or methane to escape from landfills into our air supply. Through our research, we identified 2 key markets that Launchpad Asia is well suited to take advantage of the opportunity using their proprietary soil stabilization technology. Planting efforts along the Gobi Desert to prevent its expansion, and spraying for methane caps to help prevent methane from escaping the landfill. In this presentation, we'll tell you our process for choosing these markets, the demand, what drives the demand in these markets, how Launchpad Asia's product meets the demand, and finally, how Launchpad Asia can enter this market and ultimately succeed there. Now, what we did when we know that this product works because it's been used all around the world, from runways in Lima, Peru, to doing berms and roads in North Africa and the Sudan. This product has been used with various government agencies, including the United States military, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and the governments of Chile and Peru. We've done hydroseeding projects have been done with this product in connection with state forestry and park departments within the United States. Now, when we looked at these markets, we used a variety of factors to determine what the best market opportunities were for Launchpad Asia. For example, we looked at the market urgency, which is essentially how much does the market feel a need for this problem and how motivated is the market into solving this need. We also looked at how the entry method would be, what the entry method would be for these markets. Most of the markets end up breaking down to a governmental buying process. When we did this, 2 markets stood out: the hydroseeding for preventing the Gobi Desert expansion and the methane gas capping of landfills. Now, we also looked at the capital investment that would be required from Launchpad as well as the return on that investment. And as you can see, the size of the circle here represents the value added by Launchpad Asia's product. What that means is how well is Launchpad Asia's product suited to meet the demands of the market. And again, hydroseeding and landfills stood out as great opportunities for Launchpad Asia. Now, this presentation will detail both of those market opportunities. Chelsea did the research into the landfill market, and she will now show you why the demand is high, as well as how Launchpad Asia's product can meet that demand, and ultimately how to enter that market and succeed.
Thank you, Robert. Methane gas emissions constitute the 2nd largest contributor to global warming in the world, and landfills contribute to much of this problem. As you can see by this graph, China is the leading producer of methane gas emissions in the world. This is due to rapid population and economic growth, particularly in its eastern provinces. This leads to approximately 8 to 10% increases every year in waste generation. Now, China is extremely aware of this problem and is currently taking steps to combat it by constantly improving its waste disposal systems. This has resulted in China having some of the most stringent standards in the world for waste disposal, even higher than that of the United States. Launchpad Asia's product aligns perfectly with these high standards and China's goal to help reduce methane gas emissions. The solution are gas caps. Gas caps are comprised of several different layers, as you can see by this diagram, of things such as a protective barrier, soil, and a layer of topsoil seeded with vegetation that is applied on top of the trash in a landfill to help retain some of the methane that is produced by the trash every year. Hydroseeding products can be used to seed this vegetation effectively and durably so that it creates a very strong top layer and helps retain much of the methane that is generated. Launchpad Asia's product specifically has been proven to help reduce 70% of these methane gas emissions. This was shown in one of the projects in Chile, where methane gas emissions in different parts of the landfill were reduced from 35 to 9 parts per million, and then from 45 to 13 parts per million, which is about 71 and 74% in reductions respectively. This produces a huge monetary benefit to reducing this methane. Approximately 430,000 RMB worth of methane are produced every year by 1 hectare of landfill. This methane can be retained and converted for use as a consumable energy source, which results in huge savings. Launchpad Asia's stabilizer helps to retain 70% of this, resulting in around 300,000 RMB worth of savings for every hectare over which it is applied. If you factor in the 38,000 hectares of landfill currently in use in China, that can result, if our product is applied to these, in huge profits for Launchpad Asia. This map illustrates the landfill presence in China. As you can see, the orange and red regions are provinces where there are many landfills, while the lighter yellow regions illustrate areas where there are fewer landfills. As I said before, the southeastern regions are provinces where China is seeing huge economic development, which results in more waste generation and therefore more landfills currently constructed and planning to be constructed. The responsibility of designing landfills and implementing the construction process for landfills rests on the environmental protection bureaus as well as local construction administrations within each province. So, in order to connect with the governments in charge of constructing these landfills, Launchpad Asia would need to make contact with each government on a provincial basis according to their need for landfill construction. Now, currently, the Shandong region, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang regions their governments are currently requesting proposals from companies to aid in their landfill constructions. As you can see, we have about 5 projects that are currently in the planning stages, and they're currently inviting bids from companies like Launchpad Asia to come in and help them construct their landfill. As I said before, the landfill construction process is largely provincial, with the budgeting responsibilities resting on the provincial government, the site design and approval and construction processes, those responsibilities flowing down to individual provincial departments of environment, city appearance boards, and construction administrations. The key group that Launchpad Asia should focus its marketing efforts on is the Provincial Development and Reform Commission of each province developing a landfill. This is because this group conducts a feasibility report that takes about 3 to 5 weeks. What it does is it plans out, it's a study conducted to determine the appropriate size of the landfill, what equipment to use, how long it would take to build, investment estimation, and most importantly, the technology selection. That's where Launchpad Asia comes in. Launchpad Asia would target this group for its marketing efforts, propose its product to this group, and if successful, the group would pick Launchpad Asia's product specifically for use in its landfill. Now, the entire sales process for Launchpad Asia and entering this market lasts about 11 months. After offering the sales proposal, the feasibility report and approval process on the government's timeline takes approximately 7 weeks to complete. Once the product is accepted, cap construction on the lower levels of the landfill cap would begin. And during this time, Launchpad Asia would ship its product to China to the landfill site for use later. This would take about 1 month. Once it arrives, and once the landfill cap construction process is complete, our product would be applied to the top to create that topsoil layer of vegetation that I mentioned earlier, which would help retain and reduce the methane emissions from the specific landfill site. About 90 days after this process is received, we would expect payment. Launchpad Asia would expect payment. For one 7-hectare site, Launchpad Asia would be looking at about just under 2 million RMB, which is about $300,000 US. And that's only for one 7-hectare site. That's one of the average sizes for a landfill in some of the regions. But in other regions, larger landfills may be required, which would result in much larger profits for Launchpad Asia, should the proposals be issued for those provinces. The red boxes illustrate gaps in the sales process cycle that could be used for Launchpad Asia to propose other bids on other provinces' projects at the same time, resulting in a staggered process of business cycles. Staggering this process is highly beneficial because at the same time, several different projects would be underway, resulting in multiple payments received every year, let's say about 3 a year, if you stagger the process correctly. So over time, Launchpad Asia would be looking at huge profits from having multiple projects ongoing at once, especially in regions, like I mentioned before, the east side of China. So this represents a huge market opportunity for Launchpad Asia to pursue and implement its product in. Now, Robert's going to introduce the other market that he touched on briefly, the hydro-seeding market.
Thanks, Chelsea. So looking at the same factors, the hydro-seeding market for the Gobi Desert also stood out. Now, while landfills offers a shorter-term, quicker return on the investment, the hydro-seeding efforts are a very long-term project scheduled to go all the way till 2050 as China tries to combat its desertification problem. Gloria looked into the Gobi Desert expansion and the desertification problem, and she's going to tell you about her findings.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Now, the Gobi Desert is expanding at a speed of 1,400 square miles per year. This number equals to 3,200 square kilometers. This is almost the size of Rhode Island in America and about 3 times the size of Hong Kong. Even though we like Hong Kong, we don't need 3 more. At this speed, the Gobi Desert will reach Beijing at about 15 years. Then it's a yellow dragon. This happens frequently in Beijing. As recorded, it happened 12 days per month in 2010. This really affects people's daily life so much. People take in the dust, which will be harmful to their health. The drivers can't see clearly through the dust, which will lead to traffic and accidents. And because the dust is everywhere, so the China government needed to hire workers to do the clean job. This really will cost much money. What's worse, this will pollute the water source. And if we leave this problem alone, it will reach Beijing and even east for Korea and Japan. Now, welcome to Catherine Lugo, our product analyst. She's going to introduce how our technology works and how our products are used to this market approach.
Thank you, Gloria. And how can Launchpad Asia get involved? They can get involved with the 3 North Shelter Belt program, helping build the second Great Wall of China using one soil solution. As you can see, our soil stabilizer solution, it helps create a strong bond between the soil and it compacts it. Furthermore, it increases the particular weight. It also has an easy application, and so it fits any standard machinery that is used currently to help hydroseed. And so here we have a diagram to further explain how our product fits the market. Right now, China is building the 3 North Shelter Belt program, which is a series of trees built at different distances. However, with these trees, they're fast growing, and so with their roots, they are soaking up a lot of the water that is not already present in the soil. And this weakens the soil. In addition, the purpose of these trees is to block the wind. So as these trees are blocking the wind, some is being pushed outward, some is being pushed downward into the soil, and thus eroding the soil that is already weak. This overall decreases the soil moisture by 35%, and this also contributes to the small 15% tree survival rate. However, our product, by hydroseeding native grasses, it compacts the soil into a stronger, more durable earth. And also these native grasses are drought tolerant and require less water. Using our product, it includes an additive which increases the soil moisture, and our product is less than 100% toxic, so it is very environmentally friendly. And now I'd like to introduce Alan, who will detail the approval and decision-making process.
Okay. Thanks, Catherine. So, the certification problem is the main problem that is being faced by many countries, especially in Africa and also north part of Asia. Therefore, United Nations came out with the UNCCD. It's the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. And as it explained before, that China also currently facing the desertification problem, that the Gobi Desert is expanding toward Beijing. The Chinese government established the CCICCD, which is the Chinese Committee to Implement Convention to Combat Desertification. And it is mainly supported with three main body, which is the Senior Expert Consultant, which consists of 20 professors, 7 academicians, and 13 experts in the desertification problem that is included in the Beijing Forestry University and also Chinese Academy of Forestry. And also 19 members of ministry and commission, and also secretariat of CCICCD. Therefore, the key issue here, what is the Launchpad, how Launchpad Asia can penetrate this market? And we're gonna introduce two different approaches for Launchpad Asia to can enter this market. The first approach is through the direct approach. We have contacted the State Forestry Administration, and they are the one who deals with the technology introduction and usage of the product that is going to be used for desertification prevention. And also they are the one who make the decision-making process for the technology selection. And we have contacted this agency, and from that we develop a 2 years approach. So as it can be seen in this timeline, the first 8 months is basically proposing the product or the technology to be applied in the Gobi Desert. And after that, we are going for the pilot program that is mainly focused in 3 provinces, which is the Inner Mongolia, Beijing, and Tianjin. And this pilot program basically, in this program, we want to see that our products is basically fit to the desertification problem and also can help them to solve this problem. The next approach is the indirect approach. It is from the CCTCCD, or the Training Center to Combat Desertification, in which they are collaborating with the Beijing Forestry University, or from the R&D Center to Combat Desertification, in which they are collaborating with the Chinese Academy of Forestry. And from this indirect approach, we create a 3 years plan to enter the market. Basically, like the first one, it's we need to hire professor for consultant, which is mainly sits in the Senior Expert Consultant of the CCICCD. From that, we can get the recommendation for our technology to be applied in the field. And it takes like around 1 year for the technology research and study, and also another 1 year for the academic study or university research. And after that, we're going for a pilot program that is also focused on the 3 provinces, the Inner Mongolia, Beijing, and Tianjin. From these 2 approaches, we have strengths and weaknesses for each of them. The first approach is cheaper and faster. As we can see, it only takes 2 years. But the main problem is that the probability of our technology to enter the market is quite low. It's because there are so many competitors also sell the product to the State Forestry Administration, and we have to compete with them. Well, as the Chinese said, all great battle win without fighting. So we introduced this second indirect approach that needs Launchpad Asia to hire the consultant. So our technology is being supported by the academic research. So it will increase the probability of our product to be able to penetrate the market. Okay, next. We are talking so much about the pilot program that is going to be used in these 2 approaches. And let's welcome Robert Green to introduce our pilot program guide and also more market opportunities for Launchpad Asia in Chinese market.
Thank you, Alan. So the goal of the pilot program is to show that this product can be used for the problem that China's having, and to show the feasibility of it. What we recommend as things to be looked at are the amount of wind erosion prevented and the soil moisture retained, because those are the 2 key aspects of our product that can help benefit in the hydroseeding efforts that China is currently doing. This investment will be around $132,000 for 20 hectares. This is enough area to show to show that it will work and get a good sample, while also spending 6 months to a year to come back and see the results. That way, there's been enough time to see all of the different season cycles, when there was rain, when there was drought, to show that it will work in all conditions, not just the best conditions. We've talked about these two main markets, but there were many other markets that we looked into this summer. Another one that stood out was the Yellow River. The Yellow River has a massive erosion problem, and from what we identified, there is a high market urgency as well as many companies getting in because of the potential return on the investment. What needs to be done next, though, is further research to see how Launchpad Asia's soil stabilization technology can benefit the Yellow River erosion problem. We believe it can, but more scientific research is needed to justify this conclusion. So we've identified two great market opportunities for Launchpad Asia because they have the right product, and this is the right time as soil stabilization becomes a key player in China's future. Thank you, and we welcome any questions.
Okay, a common question from a lot of the people who is first, get introduced by this product is irrigation. Okay, for example, with hydro seeding. Okay, once it's sprayed on, okay, how does the grass seeds, okay, get irrigated?
Well, the hydro seeding mix is essentially fertilizer, water, the seeds, and Launchpad Asia's product. By choosing native grass types, which Launchpad Asia has already identified one that can be used that is drought resistant, doesn't require a lot of water, and doesn't require a lot of maintenance, so that it can survive with the natural rain in the region, not requiring constant maintenance and watering. And the additive from Launchpad Asia's alliance allows the soil to retain water, even more, which will improve the water conditions even further.
Excellent.
I think you guys make a very compelling case for this product, and I'd like to congratulate you on that. I do have some questions for you specifically to limiting growth. There seems to be a very huge opportunity, but some of your deployment strategies are long in time. I think it's Chelsea's a landfill. What do you think is the biggest limiter to growth in that market? And if I were to put different resources at it, what would you recommend in order to accelerate growth?
To accelerate growth, I think, well, the process that I talked about was the overall landfill construction process that involved completely digging a new landfill or moving trash to a new landfill and completely capping the top. One of the other things or markets that I kind of looked into regarding landfills was just taking our product and applying a final cap to a bunch of already existing landfills, which would allow for a much more rapid return for that market. So I think one of the well, it's not really a limitation, but one of the faster market opportunities would be to look into that specifically, and that's
Okay. And then the same question for Alan. Your cycle is a 3-year cycle in order to get massive deployment. How would you accelerate that with either more people resources or more money? How would you go about making that a faster process?
Basically, we introduced like two different approaches, right? And we firstly think how we gonna fit those two approaches to get along together. But the main problem is that these two agencies mainly works separately. So there is no another way to accelerate them. But the purpose of the second approach for the 3 years plan is basically to make our product being supported by the academic research so that it's shown the credibility of our product really fits in the field.
And just to echo what both of them are saying, the projections are essentially not based off of market growth, but off of the actual process that's required right now. So for the landfills, Chelsea's predictions were based off of the process, but also our understanding of Launchpad Asia's sales capability and sales force. So more people would definitely increase the process because the staggered process is based off of Launchpad Asia's current situation, whereas bringing in more people would allow more to have the staggered process and get it done, get more done in the same time frame, essentially. That's the best opportunity for growth, since we can't particularly decrease the time frame just because it's the government process and that's how it works. The best is to have more people in more provinces trying to get it all done at the same time in that time frame.
Excellent. Another thing about the irrigation is the dew effect, okay, and the condensation. Okay, it's like in the middle of the desert. Okay, if you turn over a rock, okay, you will see the soil is actually wet underneath. Okay, so same thing once you lay down a layer of the hydroseeding. Okay, actually the moisture, okay, get to retain, okay, underneath. Okay.
You sound like you have been a great addition to our team. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I agree with Jeff. I think you did a great job. Obviously, you did a lot of research, which was very clear in your presentation. A couple of things I'm not clear about. You described two products. One was the methane cap, and the other was the decertification hydroseeding. Was your assignment to just look for market opportunities, or were you supposed to look at the two? And I'll tell you why I asked that question. If I were an investor, I wouldn't be sure, I'm not sure what it would be that I would be investing in, one, the other, or both. So that's my first question.
Essentially, the assignment was, while Scott was delving deep into just how to get roads built best for Launchpad Asia, the family of products they have, it's all based off the same polymer technology, but they're slightly different, and they can be adjusted for different soil types or different amounts of water that they'll receive in the area. So what we did was look at all the markets that we could identify that could potentially benefit from this to give the recommendation to Launchpad Asia of which markets are best for them to focus their resources on. So there was, as you saw at the beginning, there was several. Some were eliminated because, for example, roofing, the market demand was really about energy efficiency rather than holding the roof together under a hurricane, which Launchpad Asia's products excel at. So we tried to find the correct, what market demand was the best for what Launchpad Asia currently has in its product lineup.
Okay, so that's clear. So your information for Launchpad is here are two markets that you should look at
Correct.
carefully. Okay. Help me with the science here on the methane cap. So if you have a landfill and so there's methane that's escaping from the moment there's the first amount of waste, there's some element. How do you decide when to start the cap? Do you wait till there's a certain capacity of the landfill, or do you start capping it in increments?
Well, in each landfill, they kind of have it's not so much a cap in between each layer of trash as it is one of those protective barriers that I illustrated
Right.
on the diagram. So in between each layer of trash, which is usually just a predetermined amount that the city plans for according to the size of the landfill, they'll have a geomembrane, some kind of synthetic liner. I've read
Clay usually, right?
Yeah, they'll have clays, or they'll have some kind of synthetic thing also. And once the landfill reaches the capacity determined by the Reform Commission and the Environmental Protection Bureaus, the ones that design the landfill, once it reaches that capacity, then they will begin the soil layering, the topsoil, and then finally the vegetation, which is usually the final cap on top. So once they fill the landfill up until the predetermined size in metric tons of capacity, then that's whenever they apply the final landfill cap.
And the predetermined size is based on the use of the material, or is it based on methane exposure?
It's based on material, the amount of trash. Yeah.
Okay. My final question is just an example of my lack of technical know-how, but could you remind me, because I just don't remember, how big is a hectare compared to an acre approximately?
Well, a hectare is metric, so it's 10,000 square meters.
10,000
And if I remember correctly, because I was looking this up it points to. An acre is about 1.1 hectares, so it's close in size. Or
Okay.
a hectare is they're very close in size.
I think a hectare is
at about-
smaller, right?
Yes, then a acre is, or a hectare is,
It's about 2.47 acres.
Okay. A hectare is 2.478
I'm pretty sure.
I
acres.
thought that was the total size.
Okay, okay.
She
thanks.
knows it better than I do,
I'll
sorry.
look it up too. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Team 3. I think you've done an exceptional job trying to explain a very technical industry. I'm still learning as well, and I think some of the environmental things, such as the Gobi Desert encroaching on Beijing in 15 years, I hope that doesn't come true because I live here, and that's a scary thought. I thought you guys did a great job explaining the market opportunity. I think one thing I would suggest, and again, I don't know if this is a presentation that's focused on trying to attract investment, or is it a presentation about the business project that you're been assigned to? If it's to attract investment, then the only advice I would give is that there were a couple of slides that confused me more than made things more clear. And I think there's always a balance between companies trying to be transparent about the challenges of your business. I think you did a great job about being transparent. But to me, when I looked at that government slide, which is very true here in China, by the way, it's very complex. It also, in many ways, discouraged me as an investor, looking at the long process, the complexity of that chart, and just how difficult it would be. I'm not sure if I would be investing. But I appreciate the transparency. There's always that fine balance. I think it's just trying to find that right balance of disclosure versus providing a solution, and not making the audience confused.
Thank you, and our audience was to the executive board of Launchpad of how they should proceed, but I think that's good criticism because I believe that nobody would turn down more money or investors at any point, especially when the opportunity is so big. So that's a key aspect that should be looked at. Thank you.
I have a follow-on question about the landfills. One of the things you mentioned was the ability to generate additional revenue from the capture of methane gas. Did you look at partnering with people who do that in order to kind of accelerate your growth by having additional resources out there selling your product?
That is a great partnering opportunity that Launchpad Asia could look into. The main issue was just as we've kind of talked about, the government control over how it's, kind of who builds what in the landfill, who builds the methane capture process. So it's just a matter of collaborating more with the government rather than partnering with outside or with the construction companies directly.
So is it the government that's harvesting the methane gas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys just really have to go to the bathroom? Well, thank you for your attention. Appreciate it.
Excellent job, guys. Thank you.